So it's ended up being quite a while since I've properly posted on this account. In fact, I found out that it's been exactly a year to the day since my last proper post. But I do have what I think to be a pretty interesting story as to why that is, which also nestles quite nicely into today's topic. Often it seems like we have this desire for a fresh beginning, a clean slate, a new start. And I've experienced this multiple times throughout my own life. But each time I've experienced this, each time I've tried to set this new definite date that things will be very different from here on out and I will be a completely different person and everything will change from this defined D-Day. This has happened so many times that obviously you start to wonder, do these D-Days really mean anything? Is there any real staying power for making this kind of choice that on Monday things will be different? I don't personally believe it's actually the best way to make lasting change. Because ultimately we're going to make a mistake, especially in the early stages of trying to make some big change in our lives. We might sleep in, we might eat some food that we know doesn't make us feel good, we might treat someone in a way that isn't in alignment with the kind of person we want to be. All of these habits, all of these negative patterns that we've accumulated over so many years, we can't expect that we're going to be able to, in an instant, in a single decision, evaporate all of the history that we've had. Because ultimately that's not how our brain works. Our brain works over a period of time of slowly increasing the weights of certain neural pathways, etc., etc. You've heard it all. But in that way, we have to keep in mind that there is going to be a period of adjustment. There is going to be a period of transition. And yes, of course, this means that we need to be doing our best and we need to be striving as best we can to live in alignment with the kind of character and values that we are wanting to represent, that we are wanting to embody. But to think that we can go from 0 to 100 in the span of 24 hours, or even in the span of a week, is, I think, not extraordinarily helpful. And this even goes for my own journey with creating content. I felt that 2024 was this great opportunity for a fresh beginning, a clean slate, a new start. But in all reality, it was an opportunity for me to try to mask the history, the past, the lessons and learnings that I had acquired from the previous pain and mistakes and missteps that I had taken in the past. And it's funny, in that way, we feel like if we just leave the past in the past and we try not to think about it, best if we can forget it, then we'll be able to move on and we'll be able to live a much better life moving forward. And while there may be exceptions to what I'm about to say, for the most part, I feel like when we try to disregard or dismiss or forget our past and the things that have happened to us, especially the negative things, the pain that we've experienced, in that way, paradoxically, we feel like we're able to move past it and get over it. But in that way, I think we actually can tend to forget the lessons that we have learned from that pain, from the tribulations and challenges that we've faced. Because if we are to try and set our brain back to an earlier saved game, a point before this thing happened, we don't have the value that negative experience has provided to us, which is in the form of the lessons and the learnings that we have been able to integrate into our understanding of the world. For example, personally, I know that I've experienced the most amount of growth and the most amount of development along this path of self-cultivation and self-discovery right after I experienced some of the lowest moments and the most painful moments of my life. I can think of, among other things, 2 very specific examples related to breakups. And after those incredibly painful experiences, there's a period of grieving, there's a period of things not feeling right and everything feeling strange and foreign and nostalgically sharp and painful. But it's from that soil. It's from the nutrients that we get from reflecting on that pain and from reflecting on how we want to do things differently in the future. But I never would have been able to have those insights, those reflections without that experience. Which is why we have these moments of thinking, if only I could get back with that person, if only I could have another go. But we forget that we only are in that frame of mind because of the pain we've experienced, because of that negative moment in time. If we didn't have that, we likely wouldn't be feeling that. And so, in a way, to disregard the past is to disrespect the learning and progress that we've personally made. Which is why I've come to realize that looking back on the things that have happened and the people that may or may not have betrayed, hurt, or in some way caused us pain, looking back on all of that, I can only feel grateful for the kind of person that I have become as a result of those experiences, both positive and negative. Because when we think about it, what other choice do we have? Sure, we might be able to make all of these arguments in a hypothetical space that this certain thing might have been better if it happened that way, or if some unlucky event didn't happen to transpire. But in all reality, how are we so sure that things would have turned out better if that thing happened differently? For one, we likely wouldn't have developed the kind of resilience and character that we currently have. But also, we forget that there could have been some other experience 2 steps down the road as a result of this more initial positive experience that made everything more negative on the whole. So this idea that if only this one thing worked out, if only this one bad thing didn't happen, isn't actually representative of how the rest of our life would have turned out in the net sum. Now, on this channel, I've spoken about this idea before with respect to this kind of relative nature of good and bad, at least in this context. So I recommend you checking that out, even though it's a very old video and I do look quite different, so prepare yourself for that. But the main point that I want to drive home, the reason why I've decided to come back to this channel, is because I think incorporating all of the things that have happened to us, each of these moments, and being able to move forward with them hand in hand, incorporated into our understanding and awareness, is the best way that we can take advantage of each of the experiences that we've been lucky enough, or in some ways unlucky enough, to experience. And while I did end up making a handful of videos on this other channel, I'll re-upload the ones that immediately make sense, and I'll remake other ones that might need a slight contextual shift. The main moral of the story here is that whenever we dismiss our past or try to forget what has happened to us, we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We tend to remove the lessons along with the memories, which I think makes the struggle we've encountered meaningless. It makes it so much less valuable when we aren't able to extract some value from it. It's almost surreal to think about all of the things that have changed for me since I started this YouTube channel. I've gone between a couple of universities, I've gone to South Korea, Japan, having dropped out of university, taken this up full time. In the last year, started up Kyudo, and now I have plans of going over to Japan to study it kind of as my thing. It's so easy for us to forget the progress that we make and to forget how much value is in both, again, the positive and the negative experiences. Which is why I wanted to come back here to acknowledge this whole process, this idea that we should just cut off at like a defined period to not show our embarrassing times, or the periods where we might look different or sound different or say things slightly differently. I feel like they all go into the person that we are becoming. It's on this spectrum of the life that we have lived so far, and each experience we have contributes to the kind of perspective of the world and the kind of person that we are developing into. And with all that being said, before I waffle on for hours and hours repeating the same things again and again, I just wanted to take a second to appreciate you being here, to appreciate the people that have stuck around from when I was previously posting to the new people that are hopefully going to be watching this as well. I'm really keen for this opportunity to continue on from where I left off, from where we left off. And I'm really excited for the opportunities that are going to be presenting themselves moving forward, and this general journey of self-cultivation and self-discovery that I'm hoping to record and present in a way to be able to make sense of what it means to live a good life, what it means to live a life that we can be proud of, and unpacking what it means to be almost ethical. If any of this sounds interesting and you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to put them down in the comments. I'm always keen to get in there and have a little chat. But if you're wanting a proper back and forth kind of dialogue and to really engage with this community, then probably the best place for that I would highly recommend, definitely from an unbiased position, would be our recently refurbished, recommissioned, rebuilt Discord server. I've recently relaunched it because I feel like it's important, even though I'm presenting these ideas from a singular perspective, to be able to have a group of people that we can throw ideas around, that we can have discussions and really tease out the critical components at the core of each of these ideas. I feel like having a space for that is really important, and having a community of people to be able to do that teasing out is necessary. So I'll also include my Instagram as well if you wanted to follow more kind of day-to-day movements and more kind of regular updates in that sort of regard. But that's it. That's all I have for you now. Thank you so much again for watching. I'm really glad to be back here and to be doing this again. I really do feel quite a kind of fire in my belly to get moving with this, especially with all of this new things that I'm hoping to do with Kudo. Look forward to that. But as always, thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and do more than you think you can.